Welcome back, everybody. This is DESCareers at Dubai English Speaking College, and I am really excited to be bringing another amazing spotlight speaker to our digital platform. With us today, we have Sepideh Moussavi, who is a people and culture coach. She is diversity and inclusion expert and a corporate trainer with over 20 years of experience working with multinational organizations. Welcome to our digital spotlights, Sepideh. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you, Maria. It's my pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
It is such a pleasure having you, and I'm really, really excited to be bringing someone of your expertise to our platform. You are the first diversity and inclusion expert that we have, and it's really, really interesting to hear of this job role, because I know that within our institution at Dubai English Speaking College, a lot of our students are very interested in this as an academic thought process. And I'd love to hear how it translates itself into the world of work. So I'm really excited to be bringing this to our students today. But before we get into those details, would you like to introduce who you are and what you do here in the UAE and abroad?
Yes, sure. So Sepideh Moussavi, also known as Sep, and I am an adventurous, ambitious, energetic global citizen. And I'm here to basically in this world to live a life that I deserve, desire, and I design with ultimate freedom and balance. This is me as a person. But I also am a professional mother of two girls, ages one is going to be 12 next month, and the other one is 8, Roxana and Anita. And on a professional level, I'm a people and culture coach, as you've rightly so mentioned. So I'm passionate about cultures and also passionate about people. So these are the two, and the balance of two became the role that I'm playing and in a professional space. I work with individual teams, organizations, and help them bridge their cultural gaps and all their differences, basically to support them communicate and behave effectively across diverse cultures. And it also help them navigate with impact in complex environments. So we live in a country with 200 different nationalities, with also, and never mind Dubai, we're talking to globally, we can see mass immigration with technology, with transportation, with all the traveling that people are doing. The world is globalizing. It's becoming a different space. It's all becoming one, to be honest. I don't believe in borders per se. That's why I call myself a global citizen. So I don't like to say I am from here, I'm from there, and this is what I like. I don't like limitations. So I think it should go for everyone. And the earth is our home. We just have to. Because I don't believe in borders. I'm just working passionately to bridge these gaps that for different reasons have been created, and just to try to bring everyone together, connect, communicate, and engage. This is my motto. This is what I love to do.
That sounds amazing, and such a mouthful of amazing things that you do. So let's kind of bring it together in a simplified manner. Take us through what a typical day would be like for you at work.
Okay, that brings me back probably to, okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and just give you an example. My days are usually pretty much the same. The start of my day starts with what I call my three Gs. So every single day I have top 3 goals that, depending on the mood that I wake up in the morning, that can change. So I do have my big goals and my big plans and everything that I know I'm gonna do, and I revisit my goals every month. But then I have mini goals that I set myself to do every single day. That can actually make my life better. And one of them, for instance, is exercise. And it could be as little as half an hour, but I am devoted to do it every single day. So my 3 Gs are going to be based on the mood I wake up in the morning, and I just see, okay, today I have my 3 Gs to be, for example, list some things I do visual. It doesn't have to be big. It is going to be very small things, as long as they are going to contribute to my bigger goal.
Mhm.
So I set these 3Gs first thing in the morning. Then I go for usually when the weather is nice and when we don't have limitations in terms of COVID. Then I go for a walk. I start with opening my mind up. So a walk or meditation or yoga, one of the three, and then my coffee. And this is when I feel ready to start my day. And then I
Excellent.
go on with the girls, with the routine of the day, which that really is kids, work, etc. But everything I do throughout the day, I always think about. I always ask myself two questions in anything that comes my way, which is not scheduled in my day. I always ask myself two questions. I'm like, is this going to contribute somehow to my bigger goal? If not, it will go down the list. If I have the spare time, I will do it. If not, I learn to say no. So
That's excellent.
I think this is a big thing. I'm still struggling with that, but generally, and then the other one is it aligned with my values? So these are the two questions that I ask myself with everything I want to do in my life.
Brilliant, brilliant. And it's really important that the youth understand that you don't just do a job, that there's also the human behind the job as well. But talk to us about what you do as a diversity and inclusion expert. What does that mean? What's a typical job description for this type of role?
Again, going back to what I mentioned about bridging the gaps and building bridges as opposed to building walls. So I've been in corporate world for a very, very long time, and I understand that social status, education, the job roles, the titles, anything that can create differences. I like to put those aside, and I'm not suggesting that differences don't exist, they do. But my whole purpose is to embrace those differences, and I believe in using differences to make a difference. This is what I believe in. I think we are all different, and there is nothing wrong with that. The world would be a very funny place if every single one of us was the same. Like a bar, even Barbies are different now. I was going to say Barbies, but even those are different. But in general, I believe in differences, and I think we really need to focus on those differences and put them into productive, good use, and make our uniqueness and our differences to use them to make a difference and make a positive difference in the world. So we have to be the change we want to see in the world. Basically, this is what I always say. So this is what I'm trying to do as a culture. And cultures do have an impact in terms of how people think and mindset. So it's all about shifting this mindset of limitations and differences to what we have in common. We all have differences, and then we all have a lot of things in common. So my whole goal is to put our focus on those common grounds and strengthen using those to strengthen our relationships.
Sounds amazing. So what type of transferable skills do you feel that young people should be enhancing and developing to do a job like yours?
It's definitely 100% softer skills. So this is something that I really dislike about the current industrial education system. It is changing. I can see that it is changing because I can see it in my children school curriculum that are including these things. But I don't think they should be topics that they just come by as good to have. These are necessary skills to have. So what we learn in maths and science and everything else, how many of us are really using that in everyday life? But how many of us are meeting new people every day from different cultures? How many times do we walk down the street and not see somebody from a different culture than us, or deal with somebody who is different to us? Every single day.
That's great. So, and that's something that we definitely do at Dubai English Speaking College. We have a program called Grow, and the life program with the older students in helping them to understand those transferable emotional intelligence skills that you're discussing. But let's talk about the actual you know, the like let's call them, what are the transferable skills? Would you say definitely communication skills sounds like something very, very important in your role? I also
That's right.
understood that, and able to clarify what that diversity is, we also need to have some of those analytical skills and understanding the background of cultures and the background of potential issues that may have arisen in the past, so that we can kind of describe how we're changing to the individuals we work with. But talk to us about the types of work that you do with multinationals in helping individuals in the organizations to create change as a coach, and then putting on your trainer's hat into ensuring that change has begun to actually happen after you've left the organization.
So that's the difference between training and coaching. So I do both, and generally I prefer coaching because it makes a real difference in people's lives. So when we talk about the topics, it could be cultural intelligence. So you mentioned, I think, communication skills. So communication skills, cultural intelligence, I think definitely like social adaptability, agility and resilience, but above all of that, emotional intelligence, which you mentioned. I think clarity is a DNA of mastery. If you don't know yourself, you can never master what your goals are. You can never achieve what you really want. Because if you don't know yourself, you don't know your strengths. So this is what I try to work with clients, especially to bring, when we talk about meeting full potentials and all this niche, beautiful sentences that we keep hearing all the time. They're not just sentences and words. They actually have a meaning behind them. So meeting somebody's full potential and giving them the best chance in life is basically knowing yourself. Know what you are good at, know where your strengths are, and then putting all your focus on thriving in those, making yourself the best possible candidate to be the basically to use those strengths and meet your full potential.
Fantastic.
So I think this is, so this is where my focus would be, is to go around my room. Every individual is different, and try to understand what is it that I can do to help them shine, to help them thrive, to help them know themselves better.
Great. Now, I know that with so many different cultures and nationalities here in the UAE alone, and then when you look at it from a global perspective, that's a lot of understanding of the cultural awareness required. How do you keep on top of it? What type of behind the scenes work are you having to do as a diversity and culture coach to ensure that you're understanding the different cultural beliefs, limitations, confusion, myths? How do you stay on top of it?
Okay, so this is a very interesting question, and I get asked this question a lot. To be a culture coach doesn't mean that you need to know every single culture. To be a culture coach, it means that you know how the science of culture works. Why do people have these beliefs? What is the embedded I would say embedded traits or attributes that makes them think this way? So it's more of a psychology, and we actually have cultural psychology, and then there is an aspect of sociology. So you do these studies about individuals, and then we do these studies about societies. And then we can do the same for organizations, where the organizational culture comes from. Everything that we talk about, everything that we teach, it comes down to values. So how are values formed? So I don't need to know every single culture, every single person, because we all have individual cultures as well. So based on our personal experiences, we have different things. We do different things differently, based on the parenthood, based on the people we come in touch with every single day of our lives. So it's not about getting to know every single culture. It goes it's a bigger scale. So on a high level, you learn about the psychology behind it. So the behavioral pattern. Why do people do certain things in certain ways? Why are there limiting beliefs? And how can we influence the core or the cause of this type of behavior? So this is what we try to teach. The cultural intelligence, we always talk about different layers of people behavior. So it's more of a behavioral psychology.
Brilliant. So if you're a psychology student watching this, it definitely will be resonating with you, a definite type of job role and occupation for psychology students. I think there's so many different subjects that relate to the career that you're doing right now. I can list them from politics to law to English literature and English languages in general, psychology, sociology. There's so many, we can keep going. And how did you decide that this is what you wanted to do? When did you decide that this was what you wanted to do?
Good question. It goes back to many years ago. Right. My parents are from Iran, but my father was working in the UK when he met my mother. Military man, disciplined, very organized. He met my mother in the UK. They got married. I was born in Scotland at the time. At that time, he was working in Scotland. So I was born in Scotland, but then a revolution happened in Iran, and my father's job was terminated. We had to go back to Iran. So there was a 5-year-old me, born in the UK, went to Iran. These are two completely different cultures. So by the age of 5, you don't really feel that, you don't really learn the society culture, but you're impacted by your parents and the way they live. And you're already starting to have a blueprint on how things are in your mind. So your wiring is already happening. Then we went to Iran, and I was brought up with 100% at that time Middle Eastern culture. Then I decided, I knew that I had a British passport, and I had this opportunity that I could always go back to the UK and study there. As soon as I turned 18, and I was very rebellious, I wasn't the good girl of the family. I always challenged everything, and there were many reasons behind it, many personal reasons, political reasons, and many of you watch news all the time, you know what the country is like. So there are many reasons behind it, but life wasn't easy. But because of that, I was very stubborn and a very challenging person, rebellious. And I told mom and dad I am going to the UK. So they said, finish your high school, do what you want, this is your passport. So this is, I think, one of the things that I've always been very thankful about, is that my parents didn't stop me from doing that. I knew they were worried. They were typical Middle Eastern families that we come from a very collectivist culture. Family is everything. So for them, I know it wasn't easy for them to let me go. But they said to me, if you want to do it, we can't stop you. And as soon as I finished high school, I went to the UK on my own. I couldn't speak the language. I thought I knew everything, as you do at the age of 18. And I thought I can survive easily. I thought working is easy, but I never worked before that. I always stayed at home. Mommy and daddy took care of us. And 18 is not, you think you are an adult, but really you're not. So I went there from day one. The culture shock was there, the challenges. My father, I'll never forget, he gave me a return ticket. He gave me this return ticket and said, anytime you want to come back, there is a return ticket. He could only afford to give me enough money to survive for 3 months and enroll to an English college. So, and that was for 3 months as well. And he said, 3 months of your life, this is your opportunity. You go, you either make it or you come back. And the stubborn me was like, of course I will make it. Of course I will make it. So I went, and you know, this is a thing when I say about knowing yourself. At that time, I didn't know myself, and I keep saying the word stubborn. But the same stubbornness was an attribute that became persistence later on. So everything is about how you see it. It's when I talk about mindset, and there's a beautiful book about it. I'd like to mention the name is Atomic Habits. And now I read it recently. When you know how your mind plays tricks on you, you can see things from different perspectives. Well, what I always thought about, everybody used to tell me, you're so stubborn. The same stubbornness got me through life. So when I went to the UK, I started learning English. I tried to find a job. That's a very, very long story that can go on for a few days from the jobs that I've done. And I still have all the rejection letters that I had from McDonald's, from different supermarkets, that they wouldn't allow me to even go and share, the shelves of supermarkets, and you put all the cans in them. They wouldn't even give me that job, because I couldn't speak English. And I was trying to communicate this and tell them, listen, the beans are beans. I can see the picture. I don't need to speak the language, but it's different. And all these little things and the culture shock that I had when I went to the UK made me so persistent and hungry for success. So then I just tried, and I never forget, every night I looked at this return ticket, and then I put it back on the mirror, and I put it back on the mirror. And it took 5 years just before the expiry date of that ticket, that I used it for the first time, that I went back to Iran and saw my parents. So for the first 5 years, I didn't see anybody, didn't want to go back to Iran. My whole focus was to succeed. And I did. And I became an interpreter. So after 5 years, I became a bilingual interpreter, from not speaking the language to becoming an interpreter. And then from there, the ball started rolling. It's a snowball effect, and it just gets better and better. But one thing that I would say helped me significantly throughout this journey is I was always hungry for learning, and I wouldn't take no for an answer. This is when I say everywhere I have a can-do attitude, is because I will not take no for an answer. I might change the way that if somebody said, you accept some things and you change yourself and you find out why you were told no, and then you try to fix those elements and make yourself better, so the next time you will not get that no. So
Wow.
yeah, basically this was the journey. And
that's amazing. That's an amazing journey.
Yes, throughout interpreting, I became more and more interested in cultures, because I could see people from the same country as me, but with very different mindsets, very different understanding. And that's when I went into the culture and the impact of culture in everything, every element of our life, and the influence it has in the decisions that we make, in the way we communicate, in negotiations, in everything. So I became more and more interested in cross-cultural training. I started teaching it to the refugees back in the UK. And then there was a big gap when I had kids. We moved to Dubai, etc., etc. But recently I went back to where my passion is, which is learning and development and training.
That's amazing.
So this is how I am where I am.
And I love how you describe that lifespan. I mean, in the theories of careers, there's a theory that they talk about, Donald Super talks about, the lifespan of our career is like the life experiences that we go through become what we want to become, really, in an essence. So it's so great to have you told us that lifespan of those experiences and how you got to your current role as a diversity and inclusion expert, people and culture coach. So anybody watching this right now, I want you to kind of rewind and listen to this story again anytime that you feel it's really challenging to move you forward. Because I know a lot of young people feel like they're supposed to have the answers at 17, at 18, at even 15 and 16 sometimes. And what I'm hearing you say is, my whole life was my classroom, and every experience I had took me to the next stage. And the whole mindset of not giving up and staying resilient, but also knowing that you had that support from your family, was probably a comfort to know that if I ever did feel like I needed to go home, I always knew I had that option. So that is so great. what would you say would be the number one thing that young people should prepare themselves for if they want to do a job like yours?
Self-awareness. And this is not about the job, this is about everything in life. I think, as I mentioned before, clarity is the DNA of mastery. And I heard this from Robin Sharma. He's a motivational speaker. He's amazing. And I think for me, to find my way goes back only to maybe 3 years ago when I had the epiphany. And well, as I mentioned, when I moved to Dubai, I had to get a job that was very different to where my passion is. I'm still doing that job part-time because you do what you need to do to cater to means. So it's not always about what you want to do. It's sometimes about what you have to do, which is fine. We've all done it. I've done it for so many years. But what we need to understand about every life experience, every single day of our life, is what do I learn from this? And what can I take away from this that can help me with my bigger goal, my bigger plan, which I said to you earlier as well. I said, so everything I want to do every day in my life, I always say, so how is this going to contribute? So I realized that my power was always, I know my uniqueness is about my power of connection, communication, engagement, 3 words. This is where I'm best at. So now the job I want to do later on in life, again, comes back to that. But now, as I'm older, I've added something else to this, and that is impact. Because I got to know myself better, that I am happier when I'm helping other people. This is where I am at my happiest moment. So what do I do? Every experience in life, everything that I experienced today throughout COVID is how can I use all these lessons, everything that I'm learning to contribute to where my bigger goal is. So being a lifelong learner, this is the bottom line. So to answer your question is be a lifelong learner, never stop learning.
Fantastic. Be a lifelong learner, become really self-aware, know yourself. And how is technology evolving the work that you do, especially through COVID-19?
Oops, sorry. Technology. So all my live sessions have stopped. Everything that I have face-to-face sessions have stopped. The events that we used to have, I work with a number of institutes, training institutes, all of them are closed now. But again, even COVID for me, it's a beautiful learning curve. I never had the courage or enough courage to get on Zoom and have this type of conversation as we are having today. Sometimes I did it because my job asked me to do it. I was never comfortable with it. But this is the learning out of it, because the technology is the future. This is the future. We cannot avoid it. So the way I see it is, in a world that is constantly changing, if you are not adaptable and you don't want to evolve with it, then you're just going to fall behind. So for me, it's a balance of, for me, it's like a type of a balance. You have to have a balance in life. And social media is one of those things, or in general, internet. If I don't want to fall behind, if I want to go down my journey with everything else, I need to learn as well. And this is one of the learnings for me. I am still learning, and I can't say that I'm 100% comfortable with it, but I am doing my best. And this is a point about not getting out of your comfort zone, because that's the only zone you really learn. Otherwise, I was very comfortable to face-to-face meetings, but I learned something great, magnificent from COVID-19. And this is it. This is it. This is the future, and I need to get online.
We are. And online, I think we've seen that across every profession right now. That's so wonderful. Thank you, Sep, for being with us today. Your journey is so interesting and so inspiring. And I know that year 13 students right now are on that path towards their next step outside of the college. And I know that as parents, they're always going to be worried about, will they be okay on that next step? And I know as 18-year-olds, they're blindly excited about the future. So it's so great to see how you went through that, and the tips for resilience that you held true to yourself. So thank you, thank you. And thank you to everybody watching. That was Sep Moussavi, people and culture coach, diversity and inclusion expert, and corporate trainer. It's been so great to hear your personal journey, your career journey, and also to hear some of the stories that you shared with us about your life and your work. That is it for today. I look forward to seeing you all at our next DESCareers at Dubai English Speaking College Spotlight. Have a great day, everybody.